Hey there and welcome back to our channel. On this channel, we discuss mental health with a focus on borderline personality disorder and dissociative identity disorder. My name is Shell, and today we are going to focus on BPD and emotional instability. According to the DSM, emotional instability can be defined as unstable emotional experiences and frequent mood changes, and emotions that are easily aroused, intense, and or out of proportion to events and circumstances. So basically, rapidly changing emotions and emotional reactions that seem disproportionate to what elicited that emotion. I say seems disproportionate because from the perspective of people without BPD, it can look like our emotional reactions are very extreme. However, from the perspective of a person with BPD, it may very well seem perfectly proportionate to the event that caused the emotion. A little bit more on that later. According to the research, emotional instability seems to be a core characteristic of BPD. In fact, in some areas, borderline personality disorder is being changed to emotionally unstable personality disorder in order to more accurately depict that. Personally, I'm not overly fond of the new name because I don't feel like it fully captures the total experience of BPD. Now, the emotional instability in BPD does make it difficult to develop strategies for emotional regulation and can lead to maladaptive coping strategies in an attempt to ease those emotions. The research shows that it can be hard to return to a baseline emotion, especially from an emotional reaction to negative stimuli. My own personal experience definitely supports this. I can be very emotionally reactive, and my emotions are big. I don't get happy, I get euphoric. I don't get sad, I get depressed. And it can be especially difficult to come out of a depressed or angry emotional state. When I'm in an emotion, that's the only emotion I remember ever having. I don't remember what it's like to feel differently, which can make it very difficult to come out of that emotion. A lot of times I have to sleep on it and hope I feel better in the morning. The disconnect between me and the people around me is that it can look like I'm overreacting. But when I am acting on an emotion, I really do feel that emotion that strongly. A common description for this is the idea that people with BPD walk around with third-degree burns. And what that means is when you are burned, even the gentlest touch can be excruciating. And that's what it's like with BPD, except that the burns are emotional. This is especially understandable when you consider that the majority of people with BPD do have a history of trauma. Now, the inability to regulate emotions can be seen in brain imaging scans. Research has shown that people with BPD experience differences in our prefrontal cortex and amygdala. So this shows that there is a neurological difference between people with BPD and those without. This may also explain why it is so difficult to learn to regulate our emotions. I know that for me, emotional instability is a significant difficulty in my life. All it takes is one bad interaction and I go into a spiral. And if I'm in extreme emotional distress, I am more likely to turn to more maladaptive coping behaviors. So what can be done to help with this? I know when I was in DBT, or dialectical behavioral therapy, they talked a lot about wise mind. People with BPD tend to switch back and forth between our emotional mind and our rational mind. Using wise mind teaches us to make decisions using both. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this because admittedly, I never really quite got this concept. However, I am in the process of starting to teach myself how to use wise mind to help with my impulsive behaviors. The biggest strategy I use now for the strong emotional reactions is to just ride out the emotion. I'll sit or lay down and just stick through it until it passes. It sucks, but I've learned that I can get through it because half the problem with emotional instability is the actions that I take when I am in an emotional episode. I can be impossible to talk to. I can say things that I regret, and I can do things that are only going to cause me harm. So not acting on my emotions is a major strategy I use now. If I feel like I'm getting emotionally triggered by a conversation or interaction, I will walk away if it is possible to do so. Admittedly, I am still working on that. I've also found some other DBT strategies to use, such as stop, TIPP, and improve. Now, I've written those strategies down in a notebook that I use as a sort of mental health resource. And in there, the first one I have is stop, which stands for stop, take a step back, observe, and proceed mindfully. And what this can do is provide a strategy for catching myself in the midst of a strong emotion. And instead of immediately reacting to that emotion, if I give myself a moment to pause, then I can find a more helpful way of trying to get my feelings across. The next strategy is TIPP. This is temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing paired with muscle relaxation. These are helpful tools for when you are in the midst of a strong emotion. This can help bring that down a bit. A big one for temperature is ice cubes. That gets recommended a lot. I have personally used ice cubes, and yes, that cold shock to the system can help bring me out of that intense emotional spiral. Now, another one is improve. Now, this is one that's used for distress tolerance, which I consider when I'm in those high emotions to be a time of distress. And improve stands for imagery, meaning, prayer, relaxation, one thing in the moment, vacation, encouragement. So these are all things that we can use to try to get us out of that moment of distress, so that instead of acting on that distress, we have other things that we can do to bring us out of it. A big one that I like to do is the one thing in the moment, and that's going to be just one thing to focus on. And it doesn't matter about anything else. It doesn't matter what happened before. It doesn't matter what's going to happen tomorrow. All that matters is that one thing that you are focusing in the here and now. And that has helped to bring me out of some strong emotional spirals. The most important thing to remember is that we're all works in progress. We're not going to get it right every time, but the more we practice, the better we will get. What are some strategies that you use to help regulate your emotions? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful or interesting, please help us out and give us a like and subscribe so you know the next time we post a video. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, take care and stay well.